All right. Now let's bring this thing to order. I'd like to go get my papers. There's huge. So we may shift the schedule if Dan Fox shows up and move him to the wherever we're at in this. So be prepared. So we'll do roll call. Roger. Here. Jessica.
Here.
Mike. Here. Mark.
Here.
Paul is absent. And Jacob. Here. We need the approval for the minutes.
Make the motion to approve the meeting minutes from the July 6th meeting.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Do I hear an aye for approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. All those in favor? All right. All those against say whatever. This is an awful short minute.
Short for me.
That's true. Officers' reports. Treasury.
Alrighty, we have our balances through 6/30 of 2023. For the general account, our ending cash balance is $10,596. For Wyatt, the ending cash equivalent balance was $68,122 with a deposit in transit of $18,965. Carriage Hills, $207,510. Lawton is $52,518 with a deposit in transit of $4,699. And Granger is $436,402 with a deposit in transit of $46,630. And then we have our accounts payable vouchers. This is revised, but do you know what you added?
I think the only revision may have been the AT&T bill.
Okay.
Okay.
So the total to approve tonight would be $84,269.02.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. To approve the payables. Those in favor say
Aye.
Aye.
Gary.
He's got his hand up. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Dan's number, but it looks like he has his hand up. Are you there, Dan?
I'm here on my phone, yes.
All right.
Dan, we had a meeting yesterday with Waste Management, discussion in regards to the two options that were presented by JPR. Obviously, Waste Management doesn't want to spend those expenditures today or tomorrow. The trash business is slower today than what it was in years past, so they can't afford to be able to do that. But there was discussion about possibly a bond and, blah, blah, blah. But in the real world, even if they were agreeable, we would be 3 years probably before this thing would be realistically available. Since they haven't been able to send us any leachate since early to mid-January, Donovan indicated that there had been discussion with you in regards to what could be done to be able to facilitate that. Can you share that with the board?
Yes. Once everything came back, and of course, I think sticker shock for him, which knew it was going to be expensive. He was just asking about options and picking my brain, and I had wondered about putting a big tank out behind the plant and aerating it and trying to make bring Wyatt and Waste Management into that under aeration to try to get some pre-treatment going before it comes into the SBR. and then along with that, turn the EQ tank, which is 100,000 gallons, turn that into an SBR at the plant. And, some of those types of options to stay within where we are and see if that was a viable option. And I had encouraged them to also maybe contact their guy, Brian, from Waste Management, to see if that's something that would be a possible treatment to get by for a few years.
And you haven't heard anything back? I mean, do we know that they've made that call to Brian?
Yeah, I have not. I don't know if he has or not. And I haven't heard anything out of Waste Management for over a couple months, so I don't know what has transpired since then.
Okay.
I think they were going to reach out to Brian after we met, so that may or may not have actually happened. But I think essentially we just want to let you know, cooperate the best you can if they can come up with a solution that they can execute with the capital they have available that buys them a couple, 3 years and gets them a flow and us a flow. We want to be an active and positive partner in that.
And I think the understanding though is that is an interim measure while then an actual design of the plant, financing of a plant, and construction of a plant would be going on.
Yeah, they know there's
It's not in lieu of.
Yeah, there's no way they're going
Yeah,
down 30 years without one.
Yeah, this wasn't an end all. It was just to try to gain capacity for them to be able to get it to us and keep things flowing along the line. And as I stated to them, if we had that tank out back for that, when we do get to a construction type for a different plant or a new plant, then that will help store some of that and help us stay in compliance as they do that down the road.
Okay.
Yep, well, and I know they're filing their IDEM permit as soon as they find $50, so then they'll
Well,
be
they
able
said they
to-
received the check, but now they need your contact information to be able to submit
Yeah,
the
no way.
application.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 999.
Yeah.
Which, it's the same information, just put your name on it instead of theirs.
Dan,
So,
any other issues down at Wyatt? Didn't we have like 2 or 3 customers that were talking about tying in at Wyatt?
yeah, I have one new home being built that wants to tie in. I have another existing house that they're changing, putting a basement under, and it's close to the plant. They want to connect. And then the other one is the gas plant there at the new gas plant at the landfill wants to put in a tank. So, so those are good things we can use. The only other thing is we might look at a few more new pumps at Wyatt just for spares.
Okay.
You want to just put that into a proposal? We'll give you
Yep.
yeah, next month we can say yay, no, or yay, which is normally what you get.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I'll do that for next month. That won't be bad. Just
Okay.
trying to be prepared with it. Other than that, Wyatt's running extremely well without, the leachate. It's real simple to run right now, and as you probably see in the cost, it's way down for cost to operate it. See, Granger up there, just to switch up to Granger, we've been having some trouble with that grinder pump number 84. It's the plaza by that Baboom Fireworks. There's a bar, or I think it might be a Mexican restaurant now in that little plaza on the south side. They keep driving over our lid up there in between the 2 parking lots.
Nice.
So I don't know do we want to contact the contractor to put some bollards up there to keep people from driving, or do we have to get hold of the county to do that?
No, because we have an easement for that station location, correct?
As far as I know, there's 2 stations in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we should have an easement to where we're able to do whatever we want in our easement.
And it's not in
Okay.
pavement?
It is, it's gonna be like that alleyway behind the retail center, behind the strip commercial building. It's not,
Is
An
there a
actual
driveway in there?
it is just, it's paved area that is behind the building that people are driving back behind to then get to the fireworks place on another lot.
Yeah, and they park behind the restaurant and they drive down. There used to be a split rail fence in there that they drove over and broke down, and now they just drive through. So, just something we should do up there to protect our tank, I
It's
think.
not a public road, so it's not, the county wouldn't do anything, it'd be the owner of the property.
Okay, just,
who would need to do it,
okay,
or us
Okay.
on our own easement.
all right. But other than that, not much else. Everything else seems to be pretty calm and collected, so that's a good thing.
You got wood to knock on for them?
Yeah, I'm sitting on a wooden picnic table.
I guarantee it.
Hey, Dan,
Yeah.
is it possible for you to get a estimate for ballards around that tank so we can kind of think
Yeah.
about it?
Yep. Yeah, I will get with a contractor, see what it takes to get something put in there, and I'll have that for next month as well.
Cool, thanks.
Thank you, Dan.
Yep. All right. Thank you all.
Yep,
You're welcome.
Dan.
All right. Bye.
all right. So we'll go back to where we were. Request to extend municipal service. I think we heard a little bit of that from Dan. Any others?
Brett did mention that a property in Granger also reached out, which I believe the property though was the former Rib Shack, which
Oh, yeah.
was connected, had a grinder station, but that was all removed when that site was demolished. And the problem was the location of the grinder station was getting run over by a truck every time they turned onto Herbert. So I think the location of where the new connection is gonna be a challenge, but.
It's just
The,
it's not where it was.
yeah, the Rib Shack was on the east side of
Right.
Herbert
So
Street.
this is-
The site
this is the-
in question is on the west side of Herbert
So
Street.
this is now the northwest side, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, their address doesn't match what's in the GIS, but
yeah.
they may have been.
So from what I can see, I think we are probably gonna have to enter into a agreement with them to help out with the design, because the construction plans they have are not very good for sanitary sewer service. But I think what we're gonna recommend is that they actually put their tank in the northeast corner of the site and run it over to Beckley Street, rather than having to cross 023.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because our line is on the south side, right?
Right.
Okay.
So it's gonna be a longer sewer run, but it'll probably be less expensive than having to permit it with NDOT and then
Are
what
they,
they require.
would they be able to feed off of the line that was already there to feed Rib Shack though?
There isn't a grinder station in front of that site. The nearest one is at, it's actually grinder station number 84 that we were just talking about. So there's nothing there in front of that site for them to tie into.
No, I was wondering if they could extend the lateral that would have fed the old grinder station, because that would have had to cross under State Road 23, right?
You mean
Can't pull up the plan.
the Rib Shack site?
Yeah,
Uh,
because that pipe's still there. I mean, they
Right,
wouldn't
yeah.
have, they didn't remove that.
According
They
to
just-
Dan, the tank is still there.
Yeah, I think, the grinder isn't there, but
Yeah,
the component, the tank that would hold it is,
Right.
yes,
so,
I thought.
okay, we might want to have Asbury take a look at the tank and the pump and everything to make sure it's still in good condition. But yeah, I don't see why that wouldn't work. Should be plenty of capacity for this site. It's just an office development. So yeah, the tank should provide plenty of service capacity.
just have the same problem if you put the grinder pump back there, right?
I was thinking,
Could you
though, if
extend
they
the lateral?
extend it from there and
Right.
still put it on the
And put
northwest
his
side.
grinder pump somewhere on his property, right?
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
potentially.
Yeah.
that would make more sense. I mean, unless we put 18 guardrail posts around it.
I mean, they still, though, depending on the depth of that lot, either running it under to Beckley or coming, I mean, they're still gonna go under Herbert anyway. It may be
Yeah.
a wash, it may be a similar length.
Well, yeah, I think if we're gonna tie into the service that was connected at Rib Shack, that's definitely gonna be a shorter installation than going to Beckley.
Is it?
I
Okay,
think
okay,
that the benefit to that was not having to cost 23.
right, right.
Okay, so I think the plan at this point is to coordinate with A&R wastewater, and I'll have another conversation with them tomorrow, and then A&R is going to contract directly with this developer.
They may be able, they could call Asbury, coordinate with Dan, and maybe they could meet out on the site to check out the old station or the old tank.
Yeah.
To see if it's viable.
Yeah, I will recommend that tomorrow, and I'm sure they'll want to at least explore that possibility.
All right, let us know how it goes.
I will do that.
Okay. So anything in Granger other than what we've already talked about? Carriage Hills, favorite gravity system. How about Wyatt?
Hi, you want the update?
Let's go.
Got Ken Jones from JPR here to talk about the Wyatt report that was produced for you, and waste management. Waste management, as we've said before, covered the cost of the report and the study, and also participated in the development of the report. So, you've all had it for a month now, but we thought it was wise to have Ken here tonight in case anybody had any questions on either of the options proposed, and the state of the plant and everything there. High level view, current treatment plant does not handle the leachate that waste management produces. That is a common accepted fact by both waste management and the district. Our ordinance change last couple months ago has helped them with that, although they tell you something about waste management. They took them 3 weeks to get a check for $50 to send the permit down, so that they could change their pre-treatment levels with the state. So it was an interesting thing. I mean, how long does it take to get a check for $50? But
That's out there was bad.
so, but they've got that through. It looks like it went through today, and they will be able to start resending leachate to the plant. They haven't sent material to the plant since January, I think they told us. So they'll be able to do that, and then they're going to work directly with Dan Fox on maximizing the efficiency of the current plant. Of course, that does not change it. They did accept the fact that they are trucking leachate to their Elkhart facility and paying a surcharge to Elkhart County to treat that leachate. So with that, what needs to be done to the plant to make it capable of handling their leachate is in that proposal, and Ken's here for questions.
Yeah. So just to remind you, we are going to reuse the existing facility with modifications, mostly adding the membrane bioreactor, which is really kind of well suited for the strength of their waste. Also, as a part of that, which is a fairly expensive portion of it, is adding the reverse osmosis component, which will take care of the chloride issue that they have had since day one. So much more efficient operation at the facility. It's still, the cost is going to go up to operate it because we're going to expect to see more material coming from them. And so, with the soft costs included, that price tag, is pretty significant. development cost takes us to 7.1 million. We do have a 15% contingency in there to, catch some things. Hopefully we wouldn't need that. Hopefully they can drop that back to 5% with a good solid set of plans and a good contract. It would be, if the project goes forward, I think the district will have to decide. I'd assume, if you remember originally, for those of you that were around when we first built the plant, that was built by Waste Management. So now the plant belongs to you. So I'm not sure, that'd probably be up to George and his team to discuss how construction of a new facility would happen. Typically, if we're doing a public works project, it'd have to go to bids.
Right, well, we're bound just like Carriage Hills was, we had to bid that.
So,
It would need to be open to bid. We can't skirt public bid laws.
regardless of where the money's coming from.
I have a proposal, I'll have more information on money right after Ken's done.
So, but anyway,
We
Project is-
won't have the USDA hoops and all that silliness.
No,
No,
no, the plant was never
Well, it
involved.
might actually happen in 2 years as opposed to 5.
Yeah, I mean, we could move as fast as they want to move. It really is dependent upon, if the expansion or reissuance of the interlocal agreement that you have with them, provide funds. And then, making sure that they, paying their bills when we go forward.
So legally, they are a user. You have authority over them. You are their sewer district. You are their sewer provider, just like you are in the other sub-districts. So the only reason I believe that they can legally truck their sewage, their leachate to Elkhart is because you don't have the ability to treat it. You don't have an option to offer them. I think if you had an offer, I don't think you need an interlocal agreement. You have that municipal authority through the state's statute empowering you to be their sewer district. We had a committee meeting with them yesterday. Jessica, Don, and Mike and I met with Donovan and Brent, their engineer. There was some reluctance at the start because they don't have $7 or $8 million to give us. And so that was a non-starter. I broached the subject of a bond brought up by the district. District has bonding authority. It does not affect the county bond rating. You are an independent revenue entity. You generate your own revenue. So you have authority to bond this project to fund the expansion. And Waste Management was very clear. They will be sending you leachate for 50 years, minimum. So
They have to maintain the plant for 70 years after they dump their last load dump.
So
They'll be there a long time.
they anticipated an additional 10 to 20 years of operations. So think about the math. They're going to be down there for a while. It's going to be producing leachate. Sooner or later, this is a hurdle that needs to be crossed, whether we do it sooner or later. I think that Dan can get some efficiencies with the existing plant, but it's just not enough.
It gives us a limp along until we get this off.
I do believe they were interested in the bond, and what we told them is we would bond it and then pass through the costs proportionally to them.
Interestingly, they didn't blink when we used 7 or 8 cents a gallon in our conversation.
And they're currently paying 2.5.
Yeah.
So 5 cents a gallon from them, considering what was the parameter they gave us for the report? How many gallons a month?
They want to send us 55,000.
At 6 or 7 cents a gallon, that covers a lot of bond payments.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to.
Run the numbers.
Yeah.
So a couple questions. So whether it's an expansion or basically redo, we're still looking at about the same lifetime of that plant.
Yeah, wastewater plants, they kind of match up well with a 20-year debt because, everything, there's a lot of moving parts. Parts and pieces wear out. It's a very caustic environment. And so included in that, in the fiscal model for this project, you'd want to make sure that you develop and incorporate a sinking fund. So we're building budget to help pay for that repair. And you know, it's just one of those things you have to in there.
Well, I agree with George's statement. It was initially a non-starter when we talked about it, but when the bond idea became something, then I heard both of them kind of perk up that
Yeah.
might be interesting, and then that's why we suggested that Steve put together an analysis of what that might look like from a rate standpoint.
They wanted to know what could be those potential rates for all those pass-through costs for a life of a bond,
Steve, I can
to
get
be
you,
able to,
I can get you in touch with our bond counsel who can give you some recent rates. We just sold a public bond in Mishawaka. It fetched a nice premium. There's one going on in South Bend that we're doing now. It too will fetch a nice premium. Municipal bonds are sought after by investors right now.
If you can find a buyer.
We had 7. in Mishawaka.
This, I mean, just not saying it can't be done, but this is not a vanilla bond. It's a story bond, and the market doesn't like story bonds, even if you tell a good story. It doesn't say it can't be done, but it's probably not going to fetch, 4%, 5%.
I would think we'd have a good shot, but we can also test the market as well.
They're going to look at it as the credit of waste management, because they're predominantly the revenue source that's going to repay the bond.
But I would think also legally that the hill is the hill, right? Even if Waste Management goes bankrupt, the state or the county are going to take over the hill. The hill's not going to be abandoned. The hill's not just going to be allowed to sit there by municipal authority. So I don't share Steve's, I think now is a good time to bond municipally. But you're not going to pay the kind of interest rates a private industry will pay.
Would there be any interest in looking at this through SRF funding or state revolving fund?
Only
Once you have the
take a
design,
lot longer.
or just have an idea on what it would be.
We can research that option.
Because they might be able to provide a better rate if
I agree.
you're in the fundable range.
Especially
but
since
it's-
it has a story. It's probably not going to score in the fundable range, but they do have pool financing. And if you go into the pool, you're getting the credit of the state of Indiana's finance authority, not your credit, right, or waste management's credit. The downside of that, as Ken will tell you, is he has more work to do, right, from the design side.
so do we,
And yeah, but
reporting.
and the timing gets pushed back, right? It's not as free flowing, so you're kind of committed to their timeline.
That's where we go back to, if we started today, it's still a 5 instead of a 3.
No, I don't think it's 5, but it's 2.
Yeah, that's 2 to get financed.
You could get into next July's funding round and then start design and.
We could still complete the PER and the pre-qualification application. And we would know by about this time next year whether we were, well, I mean, we'll end up on the PPL, but we'll be way at the bottom. And the only thing, but that allows you to get some advantage because, you'll be 100 basis points over what their typical lowest rate would be. Maybe more than that now.
It's still a market rate, but like last year's pool was like 3.75%. So you can't beat that going to the open market right now.
The challenge on this project with SRF though is the benefit, who is benefiting from the project, and this is,
I agree.
mean,
That's why
this is a single
I don't believe
commercial
it'll score in the
user.
fundable range at
Right.
all, but
They're
I
not
still think
gonna-
it would probably qualify for their pool.
It'd be down there by about number 55 or 60, but you could
Which
get.
means we may or may, you're in
I think the trick with them though is they might, I don't know, they might want a backstop in some way that
I think
maybe we're not willing.
I think
to
any
do.
lender's gonna want a backstop. That's my first brush, just this is not a vanilla municipal bond.
Are we okay to talk about options? I have one. So, the Wyatt TIF still exists. And doesn't have any income. However, Donovan tells me that the gas plant is a $30 million investment on their property. So,
They're seeking tax abatements.
well, but should they? And, George's crew and our crew have been working with a couple communities where we're issuing economic development bonds, privately placed, cash up front by the buyer, in this case it would be Waste Management, and then they get access to their property tax, the increment that will probably be generated by the $30 million gas plant, and there's no backstop needed because you aren't at risk. If they don't pay their taxes, they don't get paid. And they can choose what interest rate they want to apply to the project, if any.
It is tax deductible.
It is tax deductible.
It's basically a 100% tax abatement for 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's a way better deal than seeking a tax.
If they would understand that nuance.
And I did broach that with them, and they got a little glassy on it. That was when they were.
Yeah,
like,
they would need to have it explained and laid out in paper to them, but.
And I would think it wouldn't be the guys we were talking.
Right,
Yeah.
you're gonna need corporate finance
But-
involved.
And you're also then involving your redevelopment commission, your county
Absolutely.
council.
Yep, redevelopment commission would have to be the issuer of the bond.
We left it, as you can tell, the real elephant in the room is how to pay for it. What we left it with, I believe Mike proposed that if they wanted Steve to do a rate analysis, Steve gave us a range of cost for that. We're waiting for their approval. Once they approve it, Steve can begin an analysis and come back here with some options. Steve and I can get with my bond counsel and have some more conversations and see, provide you with a list of options on how to pay for it. It won't be easy. I don't think that's, you've gone through projects like this before in this room. They're not easy, but I do think that there's writings on the wall down there.
Well, then it sounds like they need to step up to the table and tell us that.
Yeah.
That they're,
I think you'll get some kind of an answer once an analysis is done to determine what that's gonna cost them. The upfront thing, I can hear, I mean, it took 3 weeks to get a $50 check. I can't imagine what it's gonna take to get a check for $7.5 million, so. But, again, it's above these guys. Someone's gonna have to crank the numbers and decide how it's done. So there sounds like there's options to do it. But I think everybody, including the two gentlemen from Waste Management, agreed that there's gonna need to be something, that all they're doing with Dan and Brian is a Band-Aid until the next step.
The way that the plant's laid out right now, the improvements that are proposed, can the plant continue to operate while those are under improvement? It's not going to impact normal operation.
Yeah, and they committed to that, I think. They committed to working with Dan and through JPR and some of the other stuff to try to get some solutions implemented that could make this plant as efficient as possible. They also mentioned they're looking nationally at studies on how to reduce ammonia and BOD. That seems to be a national problem for all of their hills. I guess the nature of our modern trash.
So you did your 5 cents a gallon, 55,000 gallon a day. What did you get?
I did it at just 4 cents, and I'm at 730,000 a year.
Yeah.
Keeping the 2.5, 3 to basically operate and figuring 4 against it. I think the 7's probably low. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's probably being trucked for 6, 5.5 to 6.
Plus another
and
3
don't know what
plus
Elkhart
Elkhart. So he had said it's probably right around, it's probably somewhere in that 3 to 3.5. So they're 10 cents a gallon.
Well, and I got the sense that what they're doing with it is they're not getting it directly to Elkhart, they're taking it to their other hills.
Yes, I
They
remember
own a
that.
second
They remember
landfill in
Charlie.
Elkhart. What's the name of it? Happy
Earth
Mountain?
movers.
Earth movers, yeah.
Happy Mountain.
And they are sending it through there as an excess. That was the sense I got. So they're paying some sort of surcharge there for exceeding their limits.
All the time.
Yeah.
all the time.
So I would have to think that somewhere between 4 and 5 cents a gallon, 55,000 gallons a day. It's a lot of money to pay towards a bond.
Now, right now.
For a bond, let's say you're bonding $7 million.
Agreed, but it's not just $7 million, it's 7 million plus whatever
20,
additional
10
operating
years,
costs you
30
have.
years.
Right.
Okay.
But at 55,000 gallons times our 2.5 cents, I think you're gonna, and this plant's supposedly going to be less expensive per gallon to operate?
I would say no,
The
because
same?
we're adding a process. And we're adding actually 2 steps. We're adding the membrane bioreactor, and we're adding the reverse osmosis. We do get to take out the cost of operating the flow augmentation. I think it's gonna be somewhat negligible in comparison. Yeah. And, you know, and the thing that we absolutely have to do is, because we'll have more equipment, that means the useful life of some of that equipment, I mean, the cost of repair, operation, and maintenance is gonna go up. So I don't think per gallon the cost is gonna go down. I think it's probably gonna be more.
Half cent, 2 cents?
We've
Do we have an idea?
We do, we've generated estimates as to what it's gonna cost to run the facility. So we work with Steve and make sure that he incorporates that, and then we'll give him projections on the useful life of consumable equipment, you know, stuff that's gonna have to get replaced from time to time. Make sure that we're putting dollars away, you know, to cover that. And, but it's, yeah, the other thing too is that they say they're wanting us to build capacity for 55,000 gallons a day. But we built capacity for what's in the agreement now, and, you know, it's hit and miss, you know, and that's one of the things that we're probably gonna have to maybe work on in your, you know, I know this is a customer by ordinance, right? Not a customer by agreement. So we still need to address them in some way, because the inconsistency of flow is a problem for Dan Fox. Or it's been a problem for Dan Fox. So, you know, it's kind of like if can we at least get to, we're getting a minimum of this amount per day. You know, we talked about this in depth with them through the process of doing this study. I told them that, you know, that's not easy for any operator to deal with. You know, when you're not getting, like, we know what we're gonna get from Wyatt every day.
Yeah, very consistent.
So that's something that just has to be, and, you know, inconsistent, even though it's less flow, could be more complicated than dealing with consistent flow.
Right.
So it's all how the bugs work in there. I don't really know that part.
The voodoo?
Yeah.
Voodoo, the Dan Fox voodoo.
Yeah. So.
Any questions?
Yeah, they're wanting to increase to 55,000.
We had to push them for that number. Originally, I believe they were saying 40,000, and I poignantly asked them, hey guys, 10 years ago, you thought 11,000 was gonna do it, right? And here we are today with this plant not having capacity. What is a real number? And there was some talk, and 55,000 seemed to be a reasonable expectation of the next 20 years of leachate they don't currently produce 55,000, with some increases built in.
Yeah, and I think what we're hearing from them is that they're getting to the point where they really have to start dewatering cells that can't keep storing, which is what they've been doing.
Yeah, they just kind of let it fill up.
Yep. So
They
they've
got a
got
lot
to,
of gallons sitting.
they've got to start operating like it's supposed to be operated, which that's supposed to be continuously being evacuated. So
Is there a IDEM component to running those cells?
Yeah, I think they have obligations under their permit. I don't know much about that.
So we've pitched them the, hey, it's whatever dollars to get the rate study done so you guys can chew
Choose on that to him, Jessica. So once we get an answer, then we'll get Steve involved and start having some conversations so that you have some options to look at. I will tell you again, you are their sewer authority. You do not need their agreement to do it this way. If they would have come to the table with $7 or $8 million, then we sit down in a room and we need their agreement, and that's a different story. But if you're going to bond this project, you have every statutory authority to do what you need to do to provide the capacity that community needs, that sub-district needs.
They did give approval, so go ahead and have Steve provide the analysis.
I haven't seen if they've responded.
They did, like,
That's a question, yeah.
no, I
We
don't.
kind of gave them parameters, but
I think they have to go.
I think we were gonna confirm that at tonight's meeting and get back to.
I did.
Okay.
I sent that email earlier.
Okay.
But I don't think they've responded.
Okay,
Well, they gotta go find the guy who can write a $2,500 check, just sure ain't the guy that can write a $50
Maybe in the email, when they respond, yes, tell them to order the check now.
But, because their comment was they need Don's contact information to send in the item permit request. It's on the email, it's right there. But
what about your home address, your home phone
I
number?
don't think, I
Gave them
think it's
that.
the district address.
Gave him
But
the code to
I
his
was
car.
driving, I know I've got Don's phone number
Garage
in here,
code.
but I'm driving, I'll get to him
I'll
later.
give him my NetSuite code. Or not that, what is it, Netflix, yeah, because you know.
Well, it's whatever number you gave me, like, way back when, so,
What's that, the phone number? Oh, no.
yeah, it may not work.
Any other questions
I think
on
my
Wyatt?
kid changed it on me because I had to ask her.
Thanks,
What's the
Ken.
password to my Netflix?
Thank you. And thank you to the three commissioners the board members who were there. It was very, very helpful.
That was positive. I'd like to stay on the friendly trail for a little longer before we just say, hey, we're gonna build you a plant. This is what's gonna cost. Have a nice day. But at least the rate analysis will give us an idea of what we're looking at if we decide we're gonna take the less congenial way about this. And I would say, Steve, figure the bond costs at a worst case, or kind of your pessimistic view, as opposed to the more sunny view.
And I'll hash it out.
And you can look at-
We'll get on either side of your shoulder.
If
You
it
can
comes
look at
out,
SRF, I just, it will be a longer
We'll need
time.
your operating costs,
Yeah.
expectations.
I mean, because that way, if it turns out that they'll buy the ugly side, and we somehow get lucky, and it's less, that's just to everybody's advantage. But I don't want to go in there and give them a sunny rate deal, and then suddenly when we're,
I'm sure the Ken's numbers aren't sunny right now either,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you're not bare bones in it,
Oh.
you're hedging a little bit.
yeah. Well, and I would rather get 20 years down the line and have a pile of money to fix things than where we're at right now in Maya. So what, $1 million and $1.2 million land?
Something like that.
Yeah, we got what, $65,000 to put that thing back together? I think we're a little short.
I guess you can buy a lot of duct tape for that.
That's right.
Relative.
Oh,
gotta
really?
stuff it
I
out.
forgot about that.
All right, Mr. President.
All right, moving on from Wyatt to Auten. Another one of my favorite districts, never does anything. Hearing nothing, let's move on to report of officers, area plan, the usual, area, county surveyor, usual. County health shows up every time.
No report.
County engineer, he looked like he was in a good mood. Let's see, we got, old business?
Steve, did you give him an update on Pat Matthews' email from this afternoon?
I did not.
Oh, that would be old business, yeah.
Pat has a packet ready to go for Steve, still working on getting that financial packet over. He told us today that it's close and that he is finalizing everything for Steve.
Yeah, all right.
That's the third or fourth time we've heard that, but I guess he's not in a hurry to give you his problem.
Water operation was running like a top.
That's right. He did say that. He said there's not a single complaint from the 27 users.
Okay.
Is that what he has right now?
I'm guessing. I think at last count it was 25 or 26.
Okay. We'll wait for him to pull the trigger on that, and then we can see what we're doing. Any new business? Go to the floor. Everybody's favorite part, call for adjournment.
I make a motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Jessica,
So he told us.
I will not be here next meeting. I'm going to be fishing.